A piece of bread is in a toaster. That's it. That's the whole threat. The toast burns. A little smoke curls up, and inside the skull of one very normal stick figure, let's call him Stick, something the size of an almond screams a single word: danger. Heart pounding, hands sweating, legs already halfway out the door. Stick is now fully prepared to fight, flee, or die defending his kitchen. From breakfast. Here's the unsettling part. His brain made that call in about 12 milliseconds. That's faster than he can consciously see the smoke. Faster than thought. By the time the thinking part of his brain shows up to ask, wait, what's going on? The body's already running. So why does a slab of bread trigger a full-body survival response? Who's actually in charge up there? Because it clearly isn't the part of Stick that does his taxes. And the real question, the one nobody tells you, if this alarm is this fast, this strong, and runs without your permission, what happens to a person when it gets stuck on, convinced the danger is still in the room years after it left? Most people never learn the answer. By the end, you will. Start with the floor plan, because your brain isn't one thing. It's more like a cramped apartment with 3 roommates who barely get along. Roommate 1 lives in the basement, ancient, reptilian. He handles breathing, sleeping, the stuff you'd rather not think about, and yes, the pooping. Call him the lizard. The lizard has been online since before you were born, literally. Roommate 2 is the dog, emotional, loyal, deeply dramatic. This is the limbic system, the part that decides what's scary, what's delicious, and what's worth crying about. The dog runs on feelings and does not read the fine print. Roommate 3 moved in last and acts like he owns the place. The neocortex, the professor. He plans, he reflects, he imagines trampolines and jet planes and elaborate 5-year plans. He's also the smallest, takes up about 1/3 of the space, and keep this in mind, he is the slowest to wake up. Quick, honest footnote, because some neuroscientist is already typing angrily, this neat 3-floor model is a simplification. The real brain is a tangled mess of everything, talking to everything, all at once. But as a map for how you panic, it holds up. Stick with the apartment. Now, the alarm. Everything Stick sees, hears, and smells gets dumped into one room first, run by a frantic little cook. The cook's job is to blend all of it into a single smoothie of this is what's happening to me right now. Then he pours that smoothie down 2 hallways at once. The fast hallway goes straight to the smoke detector. 2 almond-shaped lumps called the amygdala. The smoke detector has exactly one talent: deciding instantly, is this going to kill me? It does not do nuance. It does not do context. It hits the alarm in 12 milliseconds and asks questions. Never. The slow hallway climbs all the way up to the professor, the thinking, reasonable part. But that road takes longer. Milliseconds longer, sure, but in survival terms, an eternity, which means the smoke detector always goes off before the smart part of you has even read the memo. That's not a bug. For a few 100,000 years, that's the only reason your ancestors didn't get eaten. The one who flinched at the rustling bush and ran lived. The one who stopped to think, is that statistically likely to be a tiger, became lunch. You are descended from the flincher. Congratulations. But here's where it gets personal. The smoke detector cannot tell the difference between your house burning down and your steak hitting too high a flame. Smoke is smoke, alarm is alarm. So somebody has to make the call, enter the watchtower. Right behind your forehead sits a part of the professor whose entire job is to look down on the panic from up high and go, relax, it's the toast. Neuroscientists call it the medial prefrontal cortex. We'll call it the guy in the watchtower with binoculars. When he's working, he overrules false alarms. He's the reason you don't scream every time a waiter is slow or burst into combat over a slightly rude email. So your whole inner peace comes down to one relationship: the jumpy smoke detector that screams first, and the calm watchtower that decides whether to believe it. When they're balanced, you feel like you. When the alarm screams and the watchtower's asleep at the post, you don't feel like you at all. And when the alarm wins, your body gets hijacked. Stress hormones flood in, cortisol, adrenaline, heart rate up, breathing up, muscles loaded. 3 options fire: fight, flight, or the weird one, Freeze. There's an old image for this. Reason is a rider on a horse. The rider, that's the professor, feels totally in control on a calm day, smooth path, nice weather. But let the horse get spooked, and the rider isn't steering anything. He's just holding on, hoping. When your survival feels at stake, the horse bolts, and no amount of clever arguing brings it back. You can't logic a bolting horse, you can't reason with a screaming smoke detector, which is exactly why this gets dark. Most of the time, the system works, the danger ends, the hormones drain, the horse calms, you come to your senses. But what if you can't run? What if you're pinned, trapped, held down? A car wreck you can't climb out of, a war you can't leave, a hand you can't push away. The body screams, do something. And there's nothing to do, so it freezes. And the alarm never gets the message that it's over. That's the hinge this whole book turns on. Being able to act, to run, to fight, to move, is one of the biggest things that decides whether a terrifying experience leaves a permanent scar. The trapped brain keeps firing for a threat that's already gone. For years, the smoke detector stays jammed in the on position, and the watchtower can't talk it down. Hold that. Because it's the answer to the question we started with. We asked, what happens when the alarm gets stuck on, convinced the danger never left? This is it. This is trauma, at least the way the brain tells it. Not weakness, not a bad attitude, a smoke detector wired to a threat that ended, still dumping stress chemicals into a body that's technically safe, while the thinking brain stands there helpless, waving a fire extinguisher at smoke that isn't real. And it explains the cruelest part. Why just calm down never works? Why insight isn't enough? There's a line, a man in an anger management class, 7th time around, proudly says the techniques are fantastic. As long as you're not really angry. That's the whole problem in one sentence. When the alarm is truly screaming, talking is useless. You can't reason your way out of a body that thinks it's dying. So how does anyone get free? Remember the toddler who watched the towers fall on September 11th and then drew the burning building with one thing the real scene didn't have? A trampoline at the bottom, so the next people who jumped would land safe. A 5-year-old taking a horror he couldn't control and handing himself back a tiny piece of agency. That's the door. Healing isn't winning an argument with the smoke detector. It's teaching the body, slowly, that the danger is finally over. And that this time, you get to move. Your brain built the alarm to save your life. The work of a lifetime is convincing it the fire's been out for years.